Do you remember the clinking sound of glass bottles and the line, "Warriors, come out to play"? It's a haunting call that has echoed across generations. But in real life, time has been cruel, taking away the familiar faces from that scene. They passed away due to illness, addiction, accidents, and loneliness. This is a true story, and you will be shocked to learn what really happened. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel. Let's go! Steve James as Baseball Fury. Steve James was born on February 19, 1952, in New York City. He appeared in the film The Warriors, 1979, when he was 27 years old, playing a member of the Baseball Furies gang, those striking figures with vividly painted faces and baseball bats in hand. Although it was only a fleeting supporting role, James made a strong impression with his muscular presence and cold intensity, marking the beginning of his journey to conquer Hollywood action films. But life behind the camera was full of loneliness and wounds too deep to name. While filming The Delta Force, 1986, in Israel, he met model Nava Halimi, and they quickly got married after completing the film. It seemed like the beginning of a peaceful home, but constant work away from home and financial pressure quietly wore down their happiness. The first marriage ended in divorce, leaving behind a young daughter. It took many years before he found some peace beside Hawaiian actress Christine Pan, whom he married at the end of 1992. They had only a short year together. Steve was suddenly diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. The cruel disease progressed so rapidly that it left him with no time for hope. Steve James passed away on December 18, 1993, at his home in Burbank, California, when he was 41 years old. At the quiet but emotional funeral, Sidney Poitier, who had worked with his wife, stood up and spoke on behalf of a Hollywood that had perhaps been too late in recognizing him. His net worth at the time of his death was estimated at around $2 million USD. Not much compared to the silent dedication and the scars he carried throughout his career. Marcelino Sanchez as Rembrandt. Marcelino Sanchez was born on December 5, 1957, in Puerto Rico. He appeared in the film The Warriors, 1979, when he was only 21 years old, playing Rembrandt, the youngest member of the gang by the same name, known for his graffiti skills and sorrowful gaze. Rembrandt was the artistic soul in the chaotic world of gangs, leaving a deep impression in the hearts of audiences across generations. However, after The Warriors, Marcelino's career didn't explode as expected. He continued to take brief supporting roles in series like Chips and Hill Street Blues, but Hollywood still seemed to see only a typical Latin face instead of a talent waiting to be discovered. When he took a role in the children's show 3-2-1 Contact, he hoped it would be a stepping stone out of gang-type roles and toward building a more positive image. But it was there that he faced subtle discrimination within the industry. Lower pay compared to his white co-stars, lack of support from the production team, and an uninspiring working environment. He quickly fell into a state of career confusion while still very young. In the early 1980s, as AIDS quietly spread, Marcelino was diagnosed with the disease. He had to hide his health condition from colleagues, afraid of losing roles, being cut from casting, and being shunned behind the scenes. The pain of the illness grew more apparent, but he was boxed in and turned away by Hollywood. On November 21, 1986, Marcelino Sanchez passed away quietly at his home in Hollywood when he was only 28 years old. His net worth at the time was estimated at about $300,000 USD. Far too little for someone once full of promise. Paul Greco as Sully. Paul Greco was born on October 21, 1955, in Newark, New Jersey. When he was 24 years old, he played the role of Sully in The Warriors, 1979. The leader of the Orphans Gang, a weak group trying to appear dangerous in the ruthless world of New York's street gangs. With his cold expression and tense demeanor, Greco portrayed a haunting image of failure, and from there embarked on a film career full of challenges. After The Warriors, Paul Greco appeared in Broadway Danny Rose, 1984, a film directed by Woody Allen. Although it was a major opportunity, the filming process wasn't easy. Greco once shared that he had to reshoot a simple action scene dozens of times due to the director's perfectionism, which left him emotionally drained. The pressure of time, space, and stage lights pushed Greco into a constant state of stress, something he once described as pain in both body and soul. He made frequent mistakes due to a congenital lazy left eye that made his expressions uneven, causing him to feel self-conscious throughout his career. Those experiences didn't make him give up, but they gradually drained his passion for the profession. By the early 2000s, Paul Greco began to experience a noticeable decline in health. After months of coughing and chest pain, he was diagnosed with lung cancer. The illness progressed quickly, forcing him to withdraw from filming and cancel numerous collaboration offers. Greco lived a relatively private life, spending most of his time in Red Hook, New York, where he passed away on December 17, 2008, at the age of 53. His net worth at the time of death was estimated at around $1 million USD, mostly from supporting roles spanning nearly 3 decades. Roger Hill as Cyrus. Roger Hill, born on July 31, 1948 in New York City, was an American actor who made a powerful impact with his role as Cyrus in The Warriors, 1979, when he was 31 years old. In the film, Hill played the leader of the Gramercy Riffs gang, the man who initiated the fateful summit that led to a night of bloody chaos across the city. However, his real life was marked by a long series of hardships. After The Warriors, Hill not only failed to land another leading role, but also became entangled in a years-long legal dispute. In 2005, he filed a lawsuit against Take-Two Interactive for using his image and voice in the video game The Warriors without permission. Although the lawsuit initially attracted attention, it was quickly dismissed and faded from public memory, leaving Hill increasingly bitter about being exploited without compensation or recognition from the gaming or film industries. He fell into depression and nearly cut off all ties with Hollywood. Hill also appeared in the television show One Life to Live and in several stage productions in New York. However, many of those projects were delayed or canceled at the last minute due to financial issues or director changes, causing him to repeatedly miss chances to re-establish his career. Hill unexpectedly withdrew from the spotlight and lived a quiet life, working at a library in Manhattan and writing poetry. On February 11, 2014, Roger Hill passed away at his home in the Bronx after suffering a heart attack at the age of 65. At the time of his death, his net worth was estimated at around $700,000 USD, based on his limited acting career and his work at the library. Lynn Thigpen as DJ. Lynn Thigpen was born on December 22, 1948, in Joliet, Illinois. At the age of 30, she left a mark with her role as the anonymous DJ in The Warriors, 1979, revealing only half her face behind the microphone, but her warm, strategic voice guided the entire film. Although her screen time was brief, she brought suspense, rhythm, and personality, becoming an indispensable part of this cinematic legend. However, Lynn's career was not a smooth path. As a black woman entering the entertainment industry in the late 1970s, she was often pushed out of lead roles. After The Warriors, she shifted toward Broadway stage productions and educational television, where she became best known for her role as the chief in the children's series Where in the World is Carmen Sandiego? Although beloved, the television work wore her down due to relentless filming schedules and pay that did not match her fame. In her later years, Lynn frequently complained of severe headaches, but her busy schedule prevented her from getting a thorough medical checkup. On March 12, 2003, just hours after stepping away from the set of The District due to intense head pain, Lynn Thigpen suddenly passed away in her sleep from a cerebral hemorrhage at the age of 54. She never married, had no children, and left behind a deeply respected artistic legacy. At the time of her passing, her net worth was estimated at around $1.5 million USD. primarily earned from television, theater, and voice work, especially in video games such as Carmen Sandiego. James Remar as Ajax. James Remar was born on December 31, 1953, in Boston, Massachusetts, United States. When he was 25 years old, he took on the role of Ajax in The Warriors, a hot-headed, aggressive, and testosterone-fueled member of the Warriors gang. This role made Remar famous for his fierce presence and explosive energy. But it was also Ajax that foreshadowed, in part, the fate of his career. Just as he began to gain attention after The Warriors, Remar was cast in a lead role in Aliens, 1986, James Cameron's blockbuster. But only a few weeks into filming, he was fired after being caught using drugs. It was a devastating fall. From being a highly rated talent, he was quietly replaced by Michael Biehn. That blow led to years of addiction and disorientation, with his career spiraling out of control. He later admitted to falling into self-destruction and often questioned whether he deserved forgiveness. It wasn't until the early 2000s that Remar began to slowly make a comeback through supporting roles, most notably as Harry Morgan, the adoptive father of the serial killer in the series Dexter. This role helped him regain recognition, and for the first time he was acknowledged as an actor with emotional depth. However, the road to recovery was far from easy. He underwent therapy, addiction recovery, and endured countless casting rejections due to the dark mark of his past. Every role that followed, from Sex and the City to Django Unchained, was the result of incredible perseverance. As of 2025, James Remar is 71 years old and still active in the film industry, mainly playing supporting roles in series and action films. He once shared that he had survived his own addiction and now dedicates time to supporting drug recovery programs. His estimated net worth is about $5 million USD, largely earned from decades of work in television, film, and voice acting. Michael Beck as Swan. Michael Beck was born on February 4, 1949, in Memphis, Tennessee. He was the third of 9 children in his family. In 1979, at the age of 30, Beck made a powerful impression with his role as Swan, the calm, determined leader of the Warriors gang in the film of the same name. It was the role that made him a star overnight. With his intense gaze and restrained presence, Beck became a symbol of unwavering leadership amid the chaos of New York. However, that spotlight didn't last long. In 1980, Beck took the lead role in Xanadu, a fantasy musical blending disco music and roller skating. Expected to follow in the footsteps of Grease, Xanadu ended up being a box office disaster. Beck's portrayal of Sonny Malone was heavily criticized, earning him a Golden Raspberry Award nomination for Worst Actor. From the height of fame, Beck seemed to fade into obscurity. His subsequent roles in Megaforce, 1982, and Triumphs of a Man Called Horse, 1983, failed to revive his diminishing image. Beck transitioned to television, appearing in shows like Houston Nights, Walker, Texas Ranger, and Babylon 5, but never achieved another breakthrough. Not only did he fade from the screen, but Beck gradually withdrew from the spotlight. He found solace in voiceover work for audiobooks, especially narrating John Grisham's novels and former President Bill Clinton's My Life. With his deep, expressive voice, Beck became one of the most beloved audiobook narrators in the U.S. In 2005, he returned just once to voice Swan in the video game adaptation of The Warriors as a nostalgic farewell to his golden days. As of 2025, Michael Beck is 76 years old and lives a quiet life, free from scandal or controversy. He is a devoted Christian and rarely appears in public. Although he couldn't sustain the fame he found in The Warriors, Beck skillfully rebuilt his life through the power of his voice. His net worth is estimated at around $3 million USD, mostly from his earlier acting work and decades of audiobook narration. A testament to the idea that success doesn't always need to be loud. Sometimes it echoes from perseverance and a quiet voice. David Patrick Kelly as Luther. David Patrick Kelly was born on January 23, 1951, in Detroit, Michigan. When he appeared in the film The Warriors, 1979, he was only 28 years old and played Luther, the brutal and unhinged leader of the Rogues gang, the one who triggered the chaos during the Warriors' escape. With his crazed eyes and the iconic line, "Warriors, come out to play EA," delivered alongside the rattling of beer bottles, Kelly created one of the most haunting moments in American cinema and turned a minor role into a cultural icon. But behind that legendary scene was a passionate theater actor. Kelly was trained by the silent comedy master Marcel and studied under Mira Rostova, the acting coach of Marlon Brando. Still, his career path was not smooth. His portrayal of bizarre, reality-blurring characters often led to him being typecast as mentally unstable figures. Nonetheless, he persisted in finding his own direction, appearing in major films like 48 Hours, 1982, and David Lynch's Wild at Heart, 1990. In contrast to his on-screen madness, Kelly's personal life was calm and grounded. It wasn't until 2005, at the age of 54, that he married stage actress Juliana Francis. 3 years later, they welcomed their first daughter, Margaret Jane. Kelly practices meditation, Sado karate, and Tai Chi, disciplines he has followed for over 3 decades to keep himself grounded and away from the toxic glare of Hollywood fame. As of 2025, David Patrick Kelly is 74 years old and still active in the arts. He recently reappeared in John Wick, Chapter 2, as Charlie, proving that his chilling presence on screen remains intact. His current net worth is estimated at around $4 million USD, earned from his work in film, theater, and numerous appearances at fan events dedicated to the Warriors. Deborah Van Valkenberg as Mercy. Deborah Van Valkenberg was born on August 29, 1952, in Schenectady, New York. At the age of 27, she took on the role of Mercy in The Warriors, 1979, a tough, rebellious woman unafraid to join the Warriors gang in the midst of riotous New York. Her character left a lasting impression thanks to a mix of strength and vulnerability rarely seen in action films of that era. Following the success of The Warriors, Deborah continued to win over television audiences with her role as Jackie Rush in the sitcom Too Close for Comfort, which ran from 1980 to 1985. Though she never faced major scandals or controversies, Deborah went through a challenging period in her career during the 1990s, when she shifted to smaller supporting roles that garnered little attention. Nevertheless, her passion for the arts never left her. She spent time studying dance, voice, and puppetry under the legendary Jim Henson, and performed in numerous plays on Broadway and in independent theater productions. In 2012, after years of relative quiet, she made a surprising comeback, winning Best Supporting Actress at the Polygrind Film Festival for her role in Road to Hell. It was a spectacular artistic revival, showing that her acting fire still burned strong after more than 3 decades in the business. Beyond film, Deborah is also a trained painter with a BFA in Fine Arts from Pratt Institute, and once shared that art had saved her from feeling lost when her acting career slowed. As of 2025, Deborah Van Valkenberg is 72 years old. She remains healthy and frequently attends the Warriors reunion events, interacts with fans on social media, and occasionally accepts roles in independent films. Her net worth is estimated at around $2 million USD, not a huge figure, but one that reflects the modest, steady life of a true artist who has stayed loyal to her craft for over 40 years. Dorsy Wright as Cleon. Dorsy Wright was born on January 8, 1957, in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. At the age of 22, he left a strong impression on audiences with his role as Cleon, the original leader of the Warriors gang, in the 1979 film of the same name. Though brief, the shocking performance made Dorsy Wright a hidden icon in the gritty street crime genre of the 1970s. That same year, he appeared in Hair, a wild love song to youth during the Vietnam War era. In 1981, he continued with a role in Ragtime as a gang member, and in 1984, he portrayed Junior Jones in The Hotel New Hampshire, adapted from the novel by John Irving. However, the spotlight faded quickly. Wright stepped away from Hollywood and acting altogether in his early 20s, just as his career was beginning to rise. He spent the majority of his life working with the New York City Transit Authority for over 30 years. At the same time, Wright kept his love for the arts alive by joining Theater for the Forgotten, a nonprofit troupe performing in prisons, rehab centers, and hospitals across various states in the U.S. It was a period in which he sought deeper meaning in performance. As of 2025, Dorsy Wright is 68 years old and now lives quietly in New York. He is retired but occasionally lends his voice to commercials and still writes scripts and directs small, independent film projects. In 2005, he returned just once to reprise his role as Cleon in the video game adaptation of The Warriors. Wright's net worth is estimated at around $1 million USD, primarily from his stable government job and smaller, personally meaningful creative projects. David Harris as Coochis. David Harris was born on June 18, 1949, in New York City. He is best remembered for his role as Coochis in The Warriors, 1979, a street-smart, rugged gang member with a distinctive fashion sense, which he played when he was 30 years old. The role quickly turned him into an icon of late 1970s New York street cinema. Before The Warriors, Harris had already gained attention for his performance in the television movie Judge Horton and the Scottsboro Boys, 1976, in which he portrayed Haywood Patterson, a weighty role centered on racial injustice. He went on to appear in films like Brubaker, 1980, alongside Robert Redford, and A Soldier's Story, 1984, often playing roles such as police officers or military personnel, a type he became associated with throughout the 1980s and 1990s. While many of his contemporaries faded from view, Harris shifted toward television with notable supporting roles in NYPD Blue, ER, and most memorably in Law and Order, SVU in 2012, where he played a prison guard, his final role before stepping away from acting. Harris lived a quiet but admirable life. He had one daughter and 2 grandchildren, and fought cancer for several years before passing away at his home in New York on October 25, 2024. At the age of 75. His death occurred just weeks before the release of Lin-Manuel Miranda's The Warriors tribute album, leaving fans deeply saddened. David Harris's net worth was estimated at around $2 million USD at the time of his death, the result of nearly 50 years of unwavering dedication to the arts. Mikos as Vermin. Terrence Mikos was born on December 26, 1953, in Poughkeepsie, New York. In 1979, at just 25 years old, he made an unforgettable impression as Vermin, a witty, fiercely loyal, and sharp-tongued member of the Warriors gang. The role made him a recognizable face among fans of late 1970s crime-action cinema. However, just as his fame was rising, Mikos unexpectedly turned away from Hollywood. After a few small roles in TV series like Simon & Simon, 1981, and McLean's Law, 1982, he left acting altogether, surprising many. He once shared that playing Vermin helped him understand the value of loyalty, and that experience inspired him to live a life of service to the community. Mikos became a news anchor for local television station Cablevision, then gradually transitioned into teaching speech and public communication in the Hudson Valley and at Marist College. It was during this time that he found a deep commitment to his faith and went on to serve as interim senior pastor at Peekskill Assembly of God for 9 years. In 2025, he is 71 years old, still healthy and living in New York, continuing to teach and share his beliefs with younger generations. His estimated net worth is about $1 million USD, primarily accumulated through work in media, education, and ministry. The light of the Warriors has never faded in the hearts of fans, but how many of those Warriors have fallen into the shadows of life? Have you ever wondered what happened after the Warriors made it back? Leave your thoughts below, and follow us as we continue to uncover the darker truths behind the glory of screen legends.